Cooler Master does RGB right. Howdy guys, Ponchato here, and today we'll be looking at Cooler Master's Master Keys MK750 mechanical gaming keyboard. Thanks to Cooler Master for sending this over for review, and let's get started. The outside of the box shows you pretty much what you're gonna get, a keyboard, but also some other stuff. The backside has a bit more detail about the MK750, but pictures can only tell you so much. Inside the box you'll find, front and center and wrapped in a cloth desk sleeve, the full-size MK750. Pretty. The underside is pretty plain with fold-out feet on either side and the USB-C receptacle for the cable. A cool feature here is that you can route the cable straight out the back or to either side using the channel molded into the bottom. Underneath that is the quick start guide, which explains, more or less, how to use the function keys. Some of the more advanced features like macro recording do require a bit more explanation, but more on those later. After that is the magnetic wrist rest. Pretty straightforward, it sort of feels like faux leather and is quite soft. Below that are 9 purple replacement keycaps, WASD, arrow keys, and escape, and one of the weirdest looking keycap pullers I have ever seen. Finally, we have the 1.8 meter or roughly 6 foot braided USB-C to USB-A cable. The MK750 features a minimalist design, which personally I'm a really big fan of. With the RGB lights off, it just looks like a regular black keyboard. With the lights on, however, that quickly changes. Even in a very well-lit room, the LEDs are bright and colorful. With the keys coming directly off the backplate with no extra cover, the light gets out pretty easily. Quick side note, in some of these shots you might notice the keyboard flickering. This is caused by the camera. The LED's frequency is well past what a human can pick up, and you won't see any flickering in person. In addition to each key being individually illuminated, the MK750 features 3 RGB light bars on the front, left, and right, which also participate in whatever lighting scheme you have selected. The top row is where you'll find most of the function keys for changing the lighting to recording macros. You just hold the FN or function key and then click the F keys to use their secondary functions. F1 cycles through the preset colors for the various lighting schemes like all red, red and green and blue, and so on. F2, F3, and F4 adjust the red, green, and blue light levels respectively from 0, off, all the way to 9. F5 cycles through the lighting schemes like rainbow wave, solid color, and breathe. F6 selects the foreground color, which is for the reactive light schemes. Here, that's the keys lighting up when they're pressed. And F7 selects the background color, which in this case is blue. F8 activates a lighting demo mode, which just cycles through a variety of different light schemes, probably used mostly for store displays. F9 activates the Windows key lock, which prevents accidentally hitting the Windows key and getting tabbed out during a game, and if you hit F9 a second time, it locks the entire keyboard. Click F9 a third time, and the keyboard goes back to normal. F10 is used for setting custom key colors, so you can set each individual key to whatever color you like, for example, highlighting only WASD. Finally, F11 and F12 are used for recording and deleting macros, which I'll explain in depth in a bit. The MK750 does support N-key rollover, so regardless of how many keys you hit at once, all of them will register. It's a nice feature to have for games that require hitting a bunch of simultaneous or fast-paced keystrokes, and make sure that none of them get dropped. Macro recording can be accomplished either in the software or natively through the keyboard. Setting them up through the keyboard is a little complicated, but relatively easy. You start by hitting function plus 1, 2, 3, or 4 to select the profile you want the macro saved to. Then function plus F11 to start the macro creation process. At this point, the keyboard lights up blue and you now select the key you want the macro bound to. I'm using J in this case. Start entering the keystrokes you want in the macro and the keyboard will record them. Once you're done, hit function plus print screen for the macro to run once when its key is hit, scroll lock to make it a toggleable loop, or function and pause for it to loop as long as the key is held. Finally, hit function plus escape to save the macro and exit. Now, when you hit the macro key, the keyboard will play back your macro exactly as recorded and with the loop setting you selected. To delete a macro, simply hit function plus F12 to enter the macro delete mode. The keyboard will highlight only keys with a macro bound, which in this case is only the J key, and you tap the key to delete the macro. Function plus escape saves the changes and exits. To hear what it sounds like, here's a recording with my desk mic of regular typing. Note this specific keyboard has Cherry MX Brown switches, which are tactile and non-clicky. The first thing I want to say about the software is thank you, Cooler Master. This is exactly what peripheral software should be. A tiny program, no nonsense, and clear and obvious usability. The software for the MK750 is divided into 4 tabs, the first of which is dedicated to the lighting. You have access to quite a few more lighting options than are enabled on the keyboard by default, and adjusting them is also much easier than doing it directly on the keyboard. Individual custom key colors, for example, are significantly faster to set up through the software. Personally, I really like the circle spectrum mode, which is obnoxiously mesmerizing, the reactive tornado, which is like the circle spectrum but centers itself on the last key you pressed, like so, and finally the equalizer, which reacts to whatever sounds or music are coming through your speakers. The only thing I wish they'd change here is increase the refresh rate on the equalizer. Something like 24 or 30 Hz would be crazy awesome. The next tab is for macros, and it's labeled well enough that you probably won't need any help using it. In the left column, you can create new macros and give them a name. The center column is where you record the keystrokes, set the loop mode, and modify keystrokes if desired. And the third column is where you assign the macro to a key. Again, props to Cooler Master for how they designed this software. Innate usability seems to be a rare design goal these days. The third tab is where you can reassign keys. Every key is customizable. Just click on the key you want to change, a prompt pops up where you can reassign it to something else or disable it, and then click save. To reset any keys you've changed, you just click on them, click reset to default, then hit save. The last tab is dedicated to profiles, which hold the complete lighting, macro, and key assignments you have set up. The MK750 can store 4 profiles on board, and the software gives you easy options to export profiles, aka back them up, import, aka restore, or reset to default. At a glance, here are the pros and cons of the MK750. On the pro side, it has super bright LEDs, which are easily visible even in a well-lit room. It's got a plethora of color options to pick from, with even more available through the software. And maybe the thing I like most, I love Cooler Master's software. It's not riddled with bloat, it actually works, and it's a tiny download at only about 10 megabytes. I've used keyboard and mouse software from some other companies that's as large as 200 megabytes, which makes me wonder, why is Cooler Master able to have all the same or better functionality with software that's 20 times smaller? Other companies, please take note. Stop filling your software with buggy garbage. Let us change the colors, edit the macros, do all the basics, and stop trying to force cloud-based profiles or always-on mandatory internet connectivity. These quote-unquote features are, at best, annoying and at worst, a security risk. Cooler Master skips them entirely. Good work, Cooler Master. I've yet to encounter a perfect product, and while the MK750 is a fantastic keyboard, it does have some minor flaws. First, the Quick Start Guide explains the basic functionality of the keyboard, but some of the more advanced or less intuitive features like foreground and background color or recording macros don't really get explained. However, Cooler Master does have instructional videos on their YouTube channel which explain the features very well. Second, I really wish the MK750 had dedicated volume up and down keys in addition to the mute, play, pause, skip track, and rewind media keys. Yeah, page up and page down have volume control as their secondary function, but a volume knob or roller would be much nicer. Finally, and I accept that this is completely petty, but it still triggered me, the labels on the number row keys are inverted. The special characters are below the numbers, which is backwards from every other keyboard I've used. I know this has absolutely no bearing on functionality, but after I noticed, I wasn't able to unsee it. But hey, we all have our demons. Overall, the MK750 is a fantastic keyboard if you're looking for Cherry MX switches and bright, colorful LEDs. In fact, I'd be happy to recommend the MK750 just based on the software by itself. The keyboard not only has 100% full functionality without using the software, if you do decide to use it, it's actually useful. It feels like Cooler Master built this keyboard with the user in mind, rather than a checklist of features created by a bunch of MBAs. If you want a full-featured and well-designed keyboard, the MK750 should be your pick. It's available with Cherry MX Red, Brown, or Blue switches and comes in at around $125. If you want to pick up an MK750 for yourself, follow the link in the description. If you want to get notified of new videos as soon as they're up, hit subscribe and click the bell icon to enable notifications. So guys, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. And if you have any questions on the MK750, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope I helped, and I'll see you in the next video.